Hi there, I'm Jamison Jones. You may know me from this most recent season 19 of Criminal Minds, and I'm excited to be here on the Jim Masters Show.
And
Love
I
that
guess
stinger.
now we are official. You have been a part of a lot of great things. And I just want to quickly remind our audience that the work that you've been involved in television and film has been epic. You've been a part of so many wonderful series. But of course, for all the daytime drama soap opera fans, they may remember William Peavy and General Hospital.
Oh, Lord, look at that.
All the daytime fans are excited now. They see you there. And of course, this is just a short list: Will and Grace. And of course, this brilliant film, The Wretched, another terrific one as well. And our special guest, The Whisperers on ABC. The list goes on to 24 on Fox, another fantastic one as well. And the list is just beginning. And of course, he was a quiet man. This was phenomenal. You were
Great film
amazing.
with Christian Slater was so good in that movie.
Christian Slater as well. And of course, as we're talking about Criminal Minds too, and it's hard to believe, that franchise has been ongoing in such an incredible way. And
It's really amazing.
Yeah, you get to play a really, really cool role. And we've got these wonderful photos that were sent to us. And this is just scratching the surface. This is Criminal Minds Evolution, folks. And for all those Criminal Minds fans out there, it's really, really cool to see you on that series. It's such an epic series. But going back to breezy Rochester, what was the inspiration for you to even go into acting and the arts and entertainment early on? Do you have family members, folks, that are in the family that were also in the arts, or are you the breakout kid, Jamison?
I guess I'm the breakout kid. Okay. My brother was always into the arts, and you gotta follow in somebody's footsteps, right? And but he never pursued that as a career. But I think that's part of the reason I got involved in high school. And, I went to a high school where there really wasn't a lot to do other than musical theater, which I am not so adept at. But he was a great singer and performer and musician. And so, I just had to do what was available to me at the time. And so I got into the plays and the musicals that were happening in high school. And then I went on to do that at Western Michigan University in college, and I did a semester at UCLA and loved that. And then I ended up going to a school called Cal State Fullerton, where I met Don Finn, who was the husband to the famous casting director Mally Finn, who did oh my Lord, Titanic and 8 Mile, and just these huge movies. And so it was kind of my introduction into the industry. But I had always thought that I really wanted to pursue the theater. I wanted to be a serious actor. So I went and got a degree from the American Conservatory Theater up in San Francisco, and I was going to be a Shakespearean actor. But then I decided to move back to LA while I was young and ambitious, and just started working in TV, and it's been great. I try to stay connected to the theater as much as possible and do a play a year. Because I really do feel like it, fuels me as an artist. Right. But the bread and butter is the film and television work.
It really is too. Yeah. And but a lot of people who are into television and film, they always go back to this passion and love of theater, especially if they started with theater. There's just something that still continues to call their heart back on stage, right?
Yeah. I always sort of jokingly say that television is the thing that feeds my bad theater habit. It feeds your soul artistically,
right.
And I think sometimes you can get depleted doing it's not doing film and television work, it's just the business of it and the constant pursuit of pushing this boulder,
episode, right?
Pushing this boulder up the hill and getting to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And the theater just feels like it's kind of enriching you and feeding you, and having that reciprocal response from the audience right there with you is pretty powerful.
When you talk about episodic television too, they always say that if you're on a daytime drama, one of those legendary soap operas, which you've been a part of and noted for, you can pretty much do and survive anything because they shoot so much, maybe an episode and a half a day, and the scripts are this thick. And we've had several daytime drama performers on our show, and they've all talked about the rigors of the daytime world. Great, it's rewarding, it's fantastic, but it's a lot of work, isn't it? And it's quick, it's fast paced.
It is. It's a lot of work. A friend of mine calls it blue collar acting. It's you show up, you rehearse your scene once, you go through the works, hair and makeup and get in wardrobe. You come back and you shoot that scene, and you're lucky to get 1 or 2 takes of it. So it's fast and furious. And like you're saying, it's an episode a day. It's not like Criminal Minds where you have 10 days to shoot an episode. You're shooting 50, 60 pages in one day. And so they are cranking through that stuff, and you've got to show up ready to go. You can't show up not knowing what you're going to say or what you're going to do. And it's tough. It's tough, but it's pretty rewarding as well.
How did you get started in daytime drama in General Hospital? How'd that come your way?
A good friend of mine was a guy named Tyler Christopher, who is no longer with us, but he was on General Hospital for years and years and years. We did a play together called Bent. Very, very heavy drama about 2 guys in a concentration camp in World War II. And it was a really powerful piece. And, he always talked about that being his best performance ever. But Mark, who's the casting director over at General Hospital, came to see the play, and he was so blown away by the work. He just called up and offered me a part. It was pretty fantastic. I was like, I don't have to audition for this? No, God, I just saw your work. That's really amazing. So, I've since then established a beautiful relationship with him as well. So it's great. And I've gone back a couple of times. I keep saying to them, you keep bringing me back as different people. Is that okay? Fine.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And that's what's amazing about it too. You can be brought back, as a different character, and maybe there's been some plastic surgery, or you're the evil brother or what have you, right? It's usually the case. Or what's amazing too on the soap operas is how you'll see the progression of the kids. 1 minute they have an infant, the newborn baby, and then maybe 2 years later, the kid is 18 driving a car and he's in a relationship.
Right. Magic.
It's like, boy, that went fast. That's a deja vu. What would you say, because you've done so much, as I said, you have been truly a revered, critically acclaimed actor, and your work spans television, film, theater, and you've got this recurring role again of Tom Milliken in the current season of Criminal Minds, which is fantastic, which can be seen on Paramount Plus. Jamison, we all have our beginnings, and we have these doors that sometimes open for us. Sometimes we have to open the door ourselves. When you look back at everything, what was a pivotal moment, or maybe there are several ones, whether they were small or they were major moments, that sort of got people to realize this guy's really good. We want to work with him and give him opportunities. Was there a moment or two early on in the career as you started to fine-tune things and make yourself known to everybody when that door opened and people started to say, he's really good, let's bring him in?
Yeah, I feel like my career has always been a bit of a slow burn. There's no real big peaks, but there's also not been any deep valleys, which is amazing. That kind of consistency is really hard to attain. But at the same time, it's hard to pinpoint any specific moment that really put me on the map, other than, the first thing I did after I got out of the American Conservatory Theater is we moved back down to Los Angeles. I had done a whole season of shows up there, and I got cast in a play called called The Rainmaker, and I was working with an actor named John DeMita, and John brought his agent to the show and introduced me afterwards. And David Draper, who's still a friend of mine, he's actually wrote and producing a movie that I'm working on later this year. He approached me afterwards and said, "Hey, do you have representation?" I said, "No." And he said, "Okay, let's meet." And he signed me and he sent me on my first job, and I booked it. And I thought, wow, this is easy. Everybody talks about how hard this is. And that didn't work for like 2 or 3 years. And so it really just reminded me that I gotta keep pushing every single day and keep meeting people and keep introducing me to people. And I look at auditions as an opportunity to meet new people. And, I tell other actors, it's like free advertising. So it's really important to just keep going and keep plugging along and keep plugging along. And I think that's really what's done it for me. There wasn't one big moment that I think put me on the map, just all of these little micro moments that have kind of kept the career going over time.
Right, exactly. And that's a good way to do it. It's really funny. Sometimes the slow burn is a good way to do it because it's steady and you can, hone the craft and not have to have 100 things happening at once. We maybe not able to give 100% to all of it. Though I'm sure if that does happen and the phone rings after our interview, you would welcome it.
I'm here. I'm ready.
He's always been ready and always been busy with all of these projects. You also have, I was going to mention, when I ask that question, sometimes, I shake it up a little bit. How did you begin? And what was the big break? And we've had people like yourself, critically acclaimed, been doing it for decades. And a lot of them will say, I'm still waiting for the big break. Even though they've done this and this and this and this. I'm still waiting for that moment, Jim.
Yeah.
It's all a matter of perspective. You also were on stage in the European premieres of Purple Hearts and Tennessee in the Summer at the Edinburgh Festival in Scotland, too.
Yes.
How cool is that? Tell us about that.
That was actually a really spectacular experience. I mean, talk about a high point. Being at the Edinburgh Festival in Scotland is really pretty extraordinary because there are literally hundreds of plays going on every single day. And anything that's a room, people turn into a theater, or the basement of a pub. We were at the Moray Theater, and we had a fairly nice space, not like some of these backroom theaters that they build out of folding chairs. And we had prepared this play in San Francisco and then brought it, 2 plays, right? The Purple Hearts was a play about 3 soldiers that were trapped in a sunken battleship in Pearl Harbor. It's based on a real account. Obviously, they don't have any idea what happened to these guys. Eventually, they died. Spoiler alert. But these 3 guys were down there. And so it jockeys back and forth between the 3 guys who are in the battleship, kind of pounding on the pipes as soon as they hear divers and things like that, and the women that are connected to them. And so it was a really dramatic and really dark and pretty powerful piece. The other one was a play called Tennessee in the Summer, which was about the life and times of Tennessee Williams. And I played Frank Merlo in that, who was Tennessee Williams' longtime lover. And there was a really beautiful, powerful piece as well. So some pretty heavy, dark dramas, but I love that stuff. I think sadness is the purest emotion. And so it's beautiful when you can capture it well and really captivate an audience with it.
You also worked on the critically acclaimed Angels in America, too, which that must have been amazing.
Yeah, working on that with that cast and Mark Wynn-Davy as the director, I started as an understudy right when I had graduated from ACT, and I was understudying an actor, Steve Culp, and Steve got sick one day, and I showed up, and as soon as he saw me, he goes, "I'm not sick anymore."
Suddenly he's well. They wheeled him in.
It's like, I can't let you go on.
I'm not sick.
That's right. I'm fine. But eventually he left the show, and I got to take over the role and worked on that for a couple of months. And it was, wow, what a powerful show that is.
Yeah, a lot of theater in your background too, but then comes film opportunities, which is quite amazing. And you were in Lucasfilm's Radioland Murders back in 1994, which was
Crazy.
like 10 minutes ago. And
That's
also in LucasArts video game Star Wars Rebel Assault 2 in 1995. Tell us about Radioland Murders and being a part of that.
That was really fun because it was the first thing that I had ever really done on camera, and it was a pretty big movie at the time. I had a small part in it, but I was the fighter pilot of in this biplane, and I just assumed I was going to get to fly in the plane. They didn't let me fly in the plane, so the guy said, I asked the pilot, I said, are these things hard to fly? He says, no, they're easy to fly. Landing is the hard part. And so, insurance reasons, they didn't let me go up in the plane. But I'm
Now
the
we
fighter
know why
pilot.
everybody claps when we're on commercial jets and we land.
That's
Everybody
right.
claps. Now we know.
Yeah. But I was the fighter pilot. I got to fire those guns. And then they kept yelling cut, but I couldn't let go. They were so powerful. And the little clips are spinning out the side.
You were like a big kid, right?
Yeah. Oh, that was such an exhilarating experience. I've never experienced anything like that on set since.
That's
Shooting those guns.
amazing.
Amazing.
And then, being a part of the video game Star Wars Rebel Assault 2 in 95, how cool is that to be a part of the video game world, huh? You're immortalized in that.
To date, that is the thing I am recognized most for, which is really funny. People go,
More than all this list of incredibleness.
"You're rookie one." Yeah.
It's incredible, right? Have you done any more of that work? Have you done voice work for animation, for video games? Because that has blossomed and blown up in such an extraordinary way, especially in recent years. And there's a lot of performers and artists who have dabbled a lot into that area, lending their voice and what have you.
Yeah, I've done a little bit of the voice work since, not so much of the mocap or the on-camera stuff for that, but a little bit of the voice stuff for that.
You enjoy it?
I do. I'd
Yeah.
love to have an opportunity to do more of that. I know, especially with the motion capture, it can be pretty exhilarating and pretty rigorous. And that sounds actually pretty fun to me,
Oh yeah, absolutely. And again, that area just continues to blossom and grow and just yeah. It was around 96 you moved to LA to continue your career in film and television, and a lot of credits, as we mentioned, The Lodger and Born to Ride, and working with some amazing people too. And he was a quiet man. You're also well known for that in 2007. Christian Slater, William H. Macy. That really still stands the test of time. Tell us about that and what was it like working with everybody and being on set and just being a part of something that people still refer to today.
Yeah, that was a really, talk about one of the peaks. That was definitely one of the peaks. It was pretty exciting to get cast in a project where you're playing opposite Christian Slater and Alicia Cuthbert and William H. Macy. That doesn't happen every single day in one film. So I felt pretty lucky to be a part of that project. And it was still a pretty small independent film. And so it really did feel like we really had the opportunity to explore the character and play around with things that, sometimes you don't get to do on bigger films where you are beholden to a bigger entity. And so this being an independent film and working with a really wonderful filmmaker named Frank Capello gave me the opportunity to explore this character in a way that I might not have been able to do on a bigger budget thing. And so it was really pretty exhilarating to work with Christian. Is such an actor's actor. That guy really dove into this role in a way that it felt like he never came out of it, while we were on set. And that was really pretty exciting to work with, that this character that he built, which was really pretty far from who he is as a person, was was really cool to be a part of that.
How do you do that? What's your method? How, when you take on characters that aren't necessarily who you are as a person, I mean, everybody pulls little elements of themselves and the people that they know and the experiences that have been lived, and maybe they weave a little of that into the role that they're tasked to take on. But how do you prepare? How do you get ready? What is your game plan when you have a role, especially a role when it's really intense, when it's really emotional? I
Mhm.
know there's people who have said sometimes if it's an ongoing role where it's a lot of intensity and a lot of emotion, you have to really get in there, dig deep, and bring it up for everybody to, savor and enjoy and connect with. It can get very, very overwhelming to the point sometimes where there's a blur between the real person and the character that's being played. How do you work with that? How do you take on that incredible challenge?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I think as an actor, actors have to dig into the basement of their own personality and pull out traits that may be somewhat dormant. And, we all as human beings have the same traits inside our personality, but they're just at they're different levels on the equalizer. And so sometimes you come across a character that's very, very different than you, but there's going to be that small little piece of you that's in there. And so you got to kind of dig down and say, well, how do I sort of neutralize some of these parts of my personality that aren't going to serve me, and bring this other part of who I am to the forefront in order to play this character. And I think as actors, we always have to go with what's in the script. What do I know about this character from the script? What is the script telling me? What are other characters saying about this? And then talking to the director. What's the director's sort of conceptual idea about this character, and the backstory, and who they are and where they come from, and then building out from there. And it doesn't matter how good the script is. An actor always has to elevate the material, because the script is really the blueprint. And so you've got to build out from the blueprint and say, okay, how am I going to color in this particular block? And how am I going to elevate this particular moment? And what can I do to really bring something to this relationship that's beyond what's just been so obviously put on the page in front of me, and make the audience feel like this is really happening in front of them? And so it's a lot of investigation, it's a lot of text work. It's a lot of exploring those deeper, darker parts of your personality that might not be in your everyday life, and then kind of giving yourself over to it, and seeing what happens. Because I do think you can't be watching yourself while you're performing, and hopefully you're working with a great director that you trust.
Exactly. Have you had times where the role is really intense, where you've had to just take a breath, a break, and just stop and then get back into it? Probably
Absolutely,
several,
absolutely.
probably, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, especially this film that I just wrote, produced, and acted in, because while I wouldn't necessarily call it autobiographical, the characters in it are really me and my wife. And so it's if I took these two characters and I dropped them into an imaginary set of circumstances, and found giving myself over to that imagination and that illusion was really, really pretty powerful and pretty moving at certain points. And I found it kind of hard sometimes to control myself. The director would say, "You really think it's going to be useful to cry in this scene?" And
Right.
I would say, "No, I really don't." And he said, "Well,
Right.
maybe let's try one without it." I'm like, "I don't know, I can't."
Wearing all the different hats. And
That's
what
right.
was it like working, with your wife too?
Well, it wasn't. My wife is not an actor, so just the characters as written, I kind of took who we are and I dropped them into this
Ah,
fictional
pulled,
story,
pulled from,
pulling
yeah,
from life, and pulling from experiences, pulling
that's
from our life
great.
and her life, and just kind of making this amalgamation of a story that is, it's a fantasy and it's illusion, but it's based in some very deep rooted feelings. And it's a really powerful, raw drama about two characters that are trying to reconnect after, 30 some years. And so it gets pretty heavy and it gets pretty emotional, but it's also got some beautiful, light, tender, genuinely romantic, sensitive moments in it too. So I'm hoping that one hits hard and people really respond to it.
Is that out yet or coming out?
It's in its final stages of post. Lisa LoCicero from General Hospital. Lisa LoCicero is I play opposite in that, and she just does it's a devastating, beautifully devastating performance. I think her fan base are going to be really excited to see this. Something
Where
very.
do you hope to have it? Streaming or the theaters? Or
yeah, I mean, it definitely will get a streaming deal. We have some irons in the fire right now with that, but we really do want to take it to some festivals and get some accolades for it, and we want to make sure that we do get at least a quick run in the theaters before we drop it on the streaming service and let it live there.
Is there a working title yet, or that's still in development too?
It's called Beginning Tomorrow.
So Beginning Tomorrow.
Beginning Tomorrow with me and Lisa LoCicero, and
we'll look for that.
Fantastic director named Juan Pablo Arias Munoz from Chile, who just really brought so much depth and complexity to the story as well. I didn't know that I could find somebody to make it deeper than what I created and what I wrote and what I had anticipated, and he just brought it to life in such a beautiful way. And a incredible director of photography by the name of Leo Perman that just did some visual imagery that is beyond my expectations for this film. It's epic.
How do you like being involved in that level where you're taking on all the different roles and different hats as you go along? Do you enjoy that, the behind the scenes as much as on camera?
I do. I love it. I think part of me missed that from the theater. When you're an actor, you're a part of the entire process. And yes, you stay in your lane at some times, but you really are an integral part of the entire process as an actor on stage. And as an actor in film and television, you come in, you do your thing, and you go home. You're not really a part of creating that final product. And so it was something that I had always missed. And it's something I had always aspired to do. And I've written a number of projects and have a number of things in development, but this one was deeply personal, this 2-character drama called Beginning Tomorrow. And so being able to put that together and finance it and find the locations and cast the actors and find the director and agree on the other people that were key parts of the creative team was really pretty special. And I'm looking forward to doing more of that. We have another project in development called The Nothing, which is a little bit more mainstream genre in the sense that everybody loves horror these days. And it's about this small town sheriff who's being visited by ghost children in his backyard, and he's got to figure out what the heck is going on. And so that's a really, really powerful piece that Juan Pablo is actually attached to direct that as well.
That sounds like that's going to be a big one. Another one, even rewinding a little bit back in 2003 with Harrison Ford, Hollywood Homicide. I mean, that was another one that has sort of a cult following too.
Yeah. Working with Harrison Ford, I mean, that it doesn't get better than that, right? That's epic. That's definitely a peak. And Lena Olin, that, so many wonderful actors in that film. And it was really a pretty special and extraordinary experience to get to work with that cast. And Ron Shelton's a great director.
Oh, yeah. What's it like being in the horror films? You've gone through so many different areas of work and format and genre. What do you think people gravitate to the horror films? And there's this cult following for so many of them. And what is it like being a part of it? What was it like being on set and working with everybody in that kind of a setting?
I mean, the Wretched is probably the one that I was most involved with. That film that we did, we shot that in Michigan in, what was it, 2017, 2018? It came out in 2019, 2020, right in the pandemic. it was
It's all a blur during that period, right?
Exactly, right.
We lost.
It was the pandemic darling. It was #1 at the box office for 6 straight weeks. The only other movie to hold that is Avatar, right? But it was the pandemic, so we have that as our caveat. But it was a really incredible experience. I was on that film for 5 straight weeks, and John Paul Howard, who played my son, we actually found this great little cabin on the beach, and we lived together the whole time. So talk about the father-son relationship. We really explored that. And I'm like, hey, I'm making dinner. Can you clean up your room? And he's like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? You're not my dad. So it was just, and Brett and Drew, the Pierce brothers who directed that, they're just such fantastic directors. And I think the reason that movie is so good is that they really wanted to elevate the genre, and now this is a thing, right? This
Right.
elevated horror is what people call it, where really what you're watching is a drama. You're watching a drama, and then something weird happens, or something supernatural happens, or something outside the world of what we normally believe as reality happens, and we suddenly switch over into this horror genre. And I think that that's why it's so popular right now. A movie like Obsession is that these performances are grounded in something very, very real and very, very truthful. And what is happening is absolutely absurd. And so working on The Wretched was just a really extraordinary experience, because Brett and Drew really wanted it grounded in something very real and very truthful. And they wanted that father-son relationship to be the center of that film, and to make sure that people were really rooting for those characters before anything bad happened to them. And I think it's such a smart idea, because once you've got the audience, and once you really have the audience rooting for the characters, then you start doing these things, and it really affects them, and it's really powerful. So that was such a great film to work on. And I'm so excited to work with them on something else in the near future too.
That is really, really cool, and a great backstory too. There is always the psychological element too. These are like psychological thrillers where, you almost say, even if it seems like something that is so out there or beyond, maybe these kinds of things can actually happen.
Right.
It isn't just who's under the bed or who's in the closet, but it makes you think about life, and it really draws people in. And I think that's where it gets an Obsession. Like we've had some folks from Obsession on recently, and that's just been like, whew, unbelievable.
Skyrocket. Yeah. It's really reassuring for independent filmmaking as well, to see that kind of thing happen to a small movie like that. Obviously they had some support from Blumhouse, and having Focus Features put it out there in the world makes a big difference. But it's really reassuring to see small independent films that are made for less than $1 million have that kind of appeal to a mass audience. And I think it sort of says to the world, hey, maybe this is a good idea. Maybe we should give a little less money to more people to make these kind of independent films, and see where they go, instead of spending $80 million, $100 million on a single film. Let's give that to 100 different filmmakers and see what that does.
And the pressure on that single film for box office to be like this, and sometimes there's a lot of writing on all of that. You also got a chance to work with Kurt Russell as well, which that was a fantastic opportunity too. And he's another great actor, and you worked with him in Dark Blue in 2002. What was that like?
I guess we're talking about peaks now. That was definitely another peak. I mean,
if our viewers are counting, he's had several peaks.
That's right. I said
ultimate
slow burn, just a slow burn.
Slow burn.
That's right.
several peaks in between.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we know the ultimate is being a guest here on the Jim Masters show. That's got to be the peak of the peak, right?
That's right. That's right. That's right. And that cast, that again, that was Ron Shelton again as the director, but getting the opportunity to just be on set with Kurt Russell was pretty fantastic. And Jonathan Banks, who plays my boss in that particular film, that guy's just legendary, but it was really kind of fun watching the process, especially in some of these bigger scenes where you have an actor like Ving Rhames who doesn't have any dialogue in some of these big scenes. And it just makes you realize that as an actor, there are certain days on set when you're kind of just an extra. You're kind of sitting there, and the reaction that these other characters have are key, crucial, and pivotal to the story. So they got to be there for that. But sitting there for 12 hours and not really having any dialogue to support this scene for, it's really kind of humbling. And it was powerful to see that. And watching Kurt Russell kind of prep this thing, and he's very charismatic on set and chatting with everybody. But then he puts on the jacket and he's in, and we roll, and he's on it, and he just nailed it every time. It was and Brendan Gleeson, that guy is legendary as well.
Fantastic.
It's a powerful group of actors to be in one room and to be with them in that one room.
Playing really off each other, right? And you're, no matter how much you can do something, you're always learning and picking up little nuggets from every experience too, which I think is amazing. Another one too, The Lodger, you're in that, known for that as well.
Yeah, The Lodger was an interesting experience. A casting director friend of mine called me up and said, we need you to do this thing. It was just an offer. I didn't even read for it. And so I had really no idea what I was stepping into and the world I was stepping into. And I step on set, and it was this really kind of dark and weird world. And like, okay, here's the thing, and here's the thing. And so sometimes you are just flying blind. I mean, obviously, I prefer to come in and have time to prepare this stuff and to be able to kind of think about where I'm going. But that one was just, that was flying blind. So hopefully it works.
Remember that, folks, when you see it. He was flying blind. Which probably wasn't the first time. In these industries, sometimes you're thrown into the fire and you got to make magic, which you do so well. True Detective is another one that you're known for, and that's another great thing to be a part of. How'd that come your way, Jamison?
Well, there's a wonderful casting office, Judy Lowry Johnson, and I had done The Whispers with them. That's the Spielberg show on ABC. And
another great one.
Yeah, that was such a great show. But just getting the opportunity, the interesting thing about True Detective is that the script was so secretive that even the auditions were scenes that they had written for the characters that were not, these scenes never ended up in the show because they were not part of the script, but they wanted to give each one of the characters enough meat to kind of say, okay, is this the guy that we're looking for? And I had this beautifully meaty scene, and I went in and just nailed it and felt so good about it. And I show up on set. I'm like, wait, where's that fantastic scene that I got to audition with? That was not part of the show, but it was great working on that and working with Vince. Vince Vaughn was really trying hard to just play what was on the page. And if you know Vince Vaughn's work, right? I mean, his whole thing is improvising and ad-libbing and throwing this over here and doing that over there.
Kind of like Jackie Gleason.
Yeah. So it was a real challenge for him to go, okay, we're just sticking to the script. We're just, we don't want any extraneous dialogue. We don't want any ad-libbing. We want exactly what's on the page. And so I think that was a real challenge for him, but I thought he did a great job at it.
How are you with that? Do you like sometimes when there is the ad lib and you just gotta come up with it as you're coming up with it? Coming from the broadcast world, television and radio, some of what my work is included is many times where you're out there and you just have to make magic, or you have things formatted, but then something happens that throws the script completely out the window, and you're still on. There's nowhere for them to go, and you have to pull from everything you know and just keep it moving, look smooth, and make it all come together. Do you like the impromptu, extemporaneous way of things, the ad lib, the challenge of pulling it together? Or do you prefer when things are, scripted and exacting, or you can play with whatever they throw at you?
I mean, I like a combination of both of them. I will say that I think art is intentional. And so having something scripted, having something thought out, having an idea, a clear trajectory for the scene, and understanding for where the beats are, where the beat changes are, what it is that we're trying to accomplish in this moment, and why it fits inside the larger story, I think is so crucial. And so what can happen sometimes if everything is improvised or ad-libbed is that we can miss the sort of goal of the scene. But I do love finding little sort of handcrafted moments that are sort of beyond what is in the script here, because sometimes you just can't write that stuff. The way the thing unfolds in the moment, Dustin Hoffman, I'm walking here in Midnight Cowboy, and here's Johnny. That kind of stuff that happens when an actor is deeply embedded in the given circumstances and the relationship and the scene and the situation and the scenario, that's liquid gold right there. You can't write that. You can't make that up. But having a very clear trajectory for that character and having scripted moments and then breaking away from that, I think that's really powerful stuff. But I'm not a huge fan of this idea of mumblecore where you just kind of go, okay, here's the scene where you guys are going to break up, go. I think sometimes it can meander and be really uninteresting. And then what happens is you have to have some brilliant editor come in and fix it. Right. But then the actors get the credit. They're like, oh, wow, you guys ad-libbed that scene. That's really powerful.
Right.
You should have seen what they actually ad-libbed and what actually ended up.
It's all on the floor. Right?
Yeah. I mean, some people are masters at that, right? Seth Rogen can just ad-lib his way through anything. Yeah. But it's really hard to find the sort of perfectly crafted moment. And you end up, right, because art is intentional, you end up in the editing room trying to fix that.
Trying to put it all together. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Do you like live? Do you like when things are live, when because they've done some things, of course, recently on television where they've taken epic movies and they've done live broadcasts of them with these big sets and just, I mean, I can imagine behind the scenes working in live television and radio myself. I know what it's like to put some of that together. But when it's a big recreation of a film live on network television, it's extraordinary. Do you have a preference? Do you love live, or do you like when everything is recorded and then, like I
don't know. That's such an interesting question, because I love live theater, but I want to be in the room with those actors. When I go to the theater, I think the sort of communal experience of it is what's so powerful. When I'm sitting in the theater and I know those actors are standing there on stage and they're 20 feet away from me and we're having this shared experience. But to watch something that's been taped live is, I don't know, I guess a little less exhilarating for me. I will say over the pandemic, it was pretty exceptional that some of these the National Theater did these live recordings of some really great stage plays like Frankenstein. And that was so incredible to see, because it was not something I would ever have been able to see. But I would prefer to be be there in that audience with those people. But, that notwithstanding, that was pretty exciting.
They just did that too with George Clooney, with Edward R. Murrow, CBS News, and I think it had broadcast live on CNN. It was the actual play in New York on Broadway, and they had cameras filming it, and then they broadcast it live on television, which was really different. It sort of brought it into maybe people who wouldn't get a chance to go to New York to see the actual play for the limited run that it had. But really cool that they experiment with various things like
I
that,
think it's great. Yeah, because then you get to touch a wider audience, and that is the problem with theater, is that not many people get to go see it. You know, even Ian McKellen, Ian McKellen doing 702 performances of King Lear. There's still a limited number of seats in that theater, and 702 times however many seats are in that theater are not anywhere near what you can do if you put it up on a screen.
You had an opportunity to get into the comedic world, Will and Grace. I mean, that's a fantastic one. Tell us about getting to be involved in that great series.
That was such a that's such a fun show to work on. I mean, those actors, they are so funny. And
see, you're laughing just talking about it, Bobby.
That's right.
What would be a crazy moment, a funny moment? Now, I could see, like maybe Sean Hayes, or I could just see maybe, I mean, it's all scripted and it's fantastic and it's funny. And even in reruns now, it's still funny. And when they brought it back a little bit, but I'm sure there were some off the cuff funny moments that happened on set that were just,
oh, sure. Yeah.
gems.
Because, Max Muchnick and David Cohen, who are the showrunners on that show and who created that show and who are integral part of writing every single word on that show. That's not to say they don't have a staff of brilliant writers, but they handcraft those moments. And then, when you're doing comedy, you're in front of a live studio audience. And so you're kind of looking for that real reciprocal response from the audience. They want them to share in it so that the audience at home feels like they're a part of that world. And, the only disappointing thing is that my line was the funny line. I don't remember exactly what it was in that particular scene, but I got the laugh. And David and Max are like, "Oh, wait, this doesn't work. We need Will to get the laugh, right?" So they recrafted the joke so that he got the laugh, and I was like, well, I'm just a guest here, it's totally fine. But it's funny because you are kind of trying to find something, right? A little bit of that magic in a bottle in those moments. And you can only do that so well when you're sitting at home or sitting in the office writing that with a team of writers. It's not until the actors take it on and do it on stage in front of the live audience that you really get a sense of whether the joke lands or not. And it landed, but got changed.
It was so good.
So good. It got changed.
Do you have a preference? I mean, we're talking horror and thrillers, we're talking drama, we're talking soap operas, we're talking, comedy. What is in your heart first? Or, I mean, like I said earlier, they can throw anything at you, and you're such a skilled, brilliant actor, and you pull so much of yourself and bring it in. You can take on anything that they give you. But in terms of your preference and what you enjoy the most, how would you describe that? Is it comedic? Is it drama? Is it?
I think it's drama. I think it's drama, and I think it's playing the bad guy, and I think it's getting the audience to hiss or groan or whatever about this terrible thing that this guy is doing. It's really pretty exceptional to be on stage and actually feel the audience hating you. I love playing a bad guy, a villain that has some depth and complexity. So finding the richness in that is really great. And I love being on stage and feeling that energy from the audience. And like we've been talking about, that sort of reciprocal, powerful experience of being on stage and having the audience out there a part of it. And also knowing that you're sharing this with another actor on stage, but you're also trying to kind of make sure the performance takes a right turn out the side of your face and to the audience. That's really exceptional. But I think I really enjoy film. I really enjoy the way that community comes together and you create this single entity like a family of gypsies, as Bill Murray just said at the Wes Anderson show at the Hollywood Bowl. Like this family of gypsies comes together and they make this really special thing. And they become the best of friends for this 5, 6, 7 weeks. and then you disperse, and this little thing that you created gets all cut together, and it gets added with color and sound and music and titles, and then it goes out into the world, and you see how the audience responds to it, and you know that you were always a little piece of that, and that's really special.
It is. Have you ever had instances where you were such a dark character, a real tough kind of guy, and somebody saw you in the supermarket or whatever, and they're like, I don't like you because of the character, not you. Example, she's been a guest on our show several times. Allison Arngrim, who played Nellie Olson for years on Little House on the Prairie. And Nellie Olson, everybody hated Nellie Olson on that show. And it transferred to sometimes she be in the supermarket as a grown woman. And people would come up to her and say, I hated you. I wouldn't let my kids play with you, and like all of this. And then when she starts talking and she makes them laugh, they realize she's a fantastic person. She's nothing like the character, right? That mean girl. Matter of fact, she even wrote a book, Confessions of a Prairie Bitch, because
that's so funny.
Playing off, the Little House on the Prairie. Have you ever had where you've played such an intense character that people confuse Jamison with the character? That was a role, madam.
Right. I mean, I definitely had people recognize me and tell me how much they hated the character, but I think they were with it enough to be able to recognize that I was the actor that was playing that. But I certainly, especially with Tyler, who, did that show for so long, we'd be out at dinner and people would come up to the table and I remember this one woman kind of quietly berating him about what he had done to some, I don't remember the characters, but, as how could you do that to Cindy, and she had your baby, and it's just like, this is crazy.
That's what happened. And the soap operas too, like we're talking General Hospital, but also you had a recurring role on Young and the Restless as well, huh?
Yeah, that was a really pretty exceptional experience. That was a nice long run. Again, fairly dark, and we might say that he was a villain in that particular instance, right? The bad guy. That was pretty fun being on that show and getting to work with all those actors and kind of integrating myself into that storyline and kind of ripping it apart a little bit and finding my own sense of how to navigate that and manipulate those people. And, he was a pretty bad guy, manipulating everybody, just going for the money.
I know, my sister and my mother had mentioned that.
Yeah.
Oh, he's the one that's coming on? Yes.
Yeah.
They remember those characters very well on the Restless. And, when you have an opportunity to be on these shows, it's like a family, isn't it? The crew, the other cast members, you're all rooting for one another to make the magic, right? And that's like the icing on the cake of it all, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. I guess you assume as the audience watching, they must hate each other, but no, you're actually really trying hard to find the thing that makes all of that work and find the choices that make the disdain or the hatred or the anger or this character despises that character. So you're finding those choices that help support that. And that's a collaborative experience with another actor. And, the directors on those shows have so much on their plate that they are kind of like a voice of God talking to you from the control booth, cutting from this camera, that camera, that camera. So a lot of times it's the actors that are working out the finer details and the minutia of the performance and the choices. So it's pretty great to have those other creative individuals to kind of help support your performance. And everybody's so welcoming when you get cast in that world,
How much say do you have in the direction of a character, or some of the words that maybe you think, having taken on the character and sort of really living the character, well, gee, maybe he actually wouldn't respond that way, or
Right.
he really wouldn't answer it that way. Or have you had opportunities where input is allowed? And what would be some of those experiences where they allowed the actors and actresses to have some thought on how they feel the character would respond and be in a situation?
Yeah, it's funny. We were actually talking about this last night in the master class that I teach with a bunch of really wonderful young talented actors that are making their way into the industry as well. We were sort of talking about the old joke of the actor saying, "Oh, well, my character wouldn't do that." And while it is a bit of a joke, there's also some reality to that, but it's not based on what I believe. It's based on what the script has told me up until this point. And so if the script has mapped out a character that does this and behaves this way and makes these kinds of choices, and then there is a choice that's written in that seems sort of counterintuitive or goes against what has supported the trajectory of this character up until that point, then it does make sense for the actor to kind of say, it doesn't really make sense that I would do this as this individual based on what I've done up until this point. Now, a lot of times actors aren't as adept at crafting the conversation with the director that way, and they just say, well, my character wouldn't do that. But it really comes from the idea that the script has told them so much about the character. And so I think when you can actually have a conversation with a director and sort of talk about the way that the script supports or doesn't support a certain choice, then of course they're open to having that discussion. And what I found on the soap operas is that my best tool was to go to the favorite actor, right, and just say, hey, it's not making sense that my guy would do this. Do you agree with me or disagree? Absolutely. And then they'd say, let's go talk to the director. And then I had to weigh in, right? I'm just a guest. I'm just there for a couple of months or whatever.
And the other one's been there 30 years or whatever.
Exactly. Having the support of one of those actors is, yeah, I completely see what you're saying. And look, it's all in an effort to make the show better. It's all in an effort to make the moment stronger. So it's never done with any kind of animosity,
You've had, again, so many incredible opportunities, and you've really taken all of them on with vim and vigor. Fox, Network 24 to be in this is really, really incredible. This was another one that broke out, and everybody was talking about 24. Another great thing to be a part of, huh?
That was a really cool show to be a part of as well. And I did that back in the day when, now we get PDFs, but this was back in the day when a messenger would come running to your front door with a new set of pages or a new script. And I remember I had done 5 or 6 episodes, and then messenger come up to the door and say, give me a script, and I'm reading the script, and then it says, he dies. And I thought, oh man, I'm out.
I'm out.
But it was a great way to die, right? I jumped on a bomb saving the president of the United States. So if you're going to go, that is definitely the way to go. But I had a nightmare experience on that show. It was the first episode that I had done. And I had it was a page and a half. It was a page and a half of just me talking about getting the president down in the bunker. And here's the plan. And this is what we're going to do. And on the day we show up, we do the rehearsal, and the script supervisor comes to me and said, oh, we have some new pages. And I said, okay, great. And she handed me the pages, and this entire page and a half monologue was completely changed, completely different. And I had about 20 minutes to learn it. And look, I really work hard on my scripts, but I am not the quickest study. That's why I work hard, because I really want to make sure I've got it. So that was a challenging moment, and that's just one of those things you have to deal with in television, that these changes can come fast and furious, and they come from all directions.
It's the messenger, right? I forgot about that. That's the way they used to. Guess what? That is out. This is in.
Yep.
We see you at 8 a.m. in the morning, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Right. You mentioned, but this, of course, was on ABC, The Whisperers. What was it like being a part of this and being of something that is the brainchild of a Steven Spielberg?
Yeah, working on anything that's a brainchild of Steven Spielberg is pretty extraordinary. And it was rooted in some really pretty amazing sci-fi stories. And so being a part of that and shooting it in Canada was also pretty exciting as well. I think that's one of the perks of the job, is that you get to go to all these great locations and shoot these great shows. And if you're lucky, you have a little bit of time as well to kind of tour around and take a look at the surroundings. So that was an exceptional experience, not just the work itself, but actually being able to be in Vancouver and spend a bunch of time looking around out there. And working on the show, you never quite knew exactly where it was going or what was going to end up, who this drill character that's talking to my daughter was, and what he was going to do. And so that was an exceptional experience. And she's actually gone on to do some really great stuff as well. She's in the new Scooby-Doo.
Oh, that's cool. You know, Vancouver has been like a real incredible place for production and filming and all kinds of stuff, huh?
For sure. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
become a real hub up there. It's a beautiful spot. Do you get to go back up there just to visit?
No, I've only done a couple of shows there, and I haven't gone back to visit. I'm keeping my fingers crossed for another series to shoot up there, because I really enjoyed that.
You know, our friend here has been on Burn Notice and 911 and CSI and NCIS and Alias. I mean, really incredible. These are all top shows. Burn Notice. Tell us about being a part of that.
Burn Notice, again, another great location, shooting down in Miami and driving around in a $250,000 Bentley. You know, my character is this obnoxious rich guy that's kind of fleecing older women for their money. And but what a spectacular location, and what a exceptional cast and crew to get to work with on that show. And the thing that's so fun about that show is it has that kind of tongue-in-cheek quality to it. So you're serious and it's dramatic, and there's also this element that's kind of fun. We really do want to not just catch the bad guy, but we want to punish him. And so that was fun, being on the other side of the punishment, playing that character on that show.
You know, Criminal Minds, a beloved series, and here you are, Tom Milliken, and taking this on again in an incredible way. Tell us about being a part of this, and what is it like, and what are some of the exciting things that people would look forward to, but also what is it like taking on that character? How would you describe the character, and how much of Tom is Jamison and how much of Jamison is Tom?
That is a good question. I think we all, like we were saying earlier, right? We all have the little boxes in the basement that we have to dig down and pull to the forefront. But I do have a real dark intensity. And so bringing that to the forefront was pretty easy for me. And it's pretty rewarding for me. It's pretty satisfying to play that kind of character. So I gravitate to those characters, and it was enjoyable working with Adam Rodriguez, who plays Luke Elvez. You know, the idea is that these characters have a deep friendship, you know, that they were in the military together, and that they're both a big part of helping ill and injured service members kind of reintegrate into society. And so being a part of that part of it, and playing a character in that first episode that's really trying to do good, that's really trying to help other people, that his dark intensity is all in an effort to prepare these other soldiers for situations that just will throw them for a loop if they haven't been run through the ringer. And so this dark intensity is coming from a place of real care. And yet it doesn't feel like it in the moment. Tom just berates this young guy, and because he can't pull the trigger when he's supposed to, and he gets hostages killed time and time again, and it's not acceptable, and I'm gonna get rid of him because of it. And that's where Tom's demise comes in.
What's it like working with the rest of the cast and crew on that? Because again, that's a name that's been around a long time, Criminal Minds, this evolution. And you talk about, was it season 19 now?
Yeah, season 19.
It's hard to believe, right? And what are some things that you're excited about and people can look forward to? And how does it feel just to be a part of such a well-known and beloved franchise?
Well, Erica Messer and Breen Fraser have, my episode was the showrunner. Really, for my episode was a guy named Breen Fraser, and it was exceptional getting to work with him and talking about the character and the trajectory of the character, and a wonderful director by the name of Anthony Vietro is the one that cast me in the show. And I had worked with him on a movie, 9 years ago, I think it was at this point, with Tom Everett Scott. And we played cops and partners. And it was such a great experience working with Anthony and finding some, I guess you would say, creative latitude, being able to add something to the character, to the story. Sometimes you jump into these shows that are, 19 seasons in, and you're supposed to show up and do what you did in the audition. And so it was great working with Anthony and Breen and getting the opportunity to really hone the character, make some choices, find some depth and complexity that may not have been so clearly articulated on the page, and finding a lot of care for his friend Luke Alves, right, played by Adam Rodriguez. And also there's a beautiful scene that unfortunately got cut, that my character has with RJ, who plays Tyler Green. And he's really expressing to him how important it is to work on his mental health. And in that first episode, you go, oh God, this Tom Milliken guy is such a wonderful human being. And then you see him holding hostages going, I'm going to kill her if you don't give me my meds. So, I go, wait a minute, what happened to this guy?
Right, exactly. The flip of the switch.
Right, exactly.
Kind of like a Twilight Zone ending.
0 to 120 in a fraction of a second. You're like, what happened to Tom Milliken?
Right. What are some things that pulling away from the limelight, the cameras, the scripts, all of it, what are some things that you like to do that balance it all? Things that people might not even realize about you because they know you as a gifted actor and director and writer, instructor, and more, but things that you like to do to balance out all of the energy that it takes to do what you do so well. What are some things you like to do?
Well, I'm obsessed with water and the ocean. And I always tell my wife it's getting back to zero for me, sort of zero elevation when you hit the beach, and getting back to zero in my head as well. It's the one place where I feel like I can clear my head of all of this, and not just this, but the day-to-day reality of being a human being in the world and living in LA. It's a very busy city, and raising 3 kids, and that's complicated and wonderful at the same time, and having a relationship and dealing with that, and it's wonderful and complicated at the same time. But my wife and I have really found a beautiful connection since our kids have we've become empty nesters. Our kids have moved out into the world. And so it's really great to just get back to the two of us and to find opportunities to get to the water, to get on the surfboard or the paddleboard or in the sailboat, and really just find a sense of peace and tranquility. That is a powerful thing for me.
I'm right there with you, and our audience here knows, but people just know me in general. I am definitely an ocean guy here on the East Coast, of course, with the Atlantic. And I grew up originally on Long Island, which is
Mm,
surrounded by the Atlantic on the south and
incredible.
Long Island Sound on the north. But wherever we are, I always got to be near, in, on, around the ocean. There is really something grounding about the feeling of the power of the energy of the ocean. The ocean is larger than we are.
Right.
The ocean provides, a source of life and sustenance, but at the same time, the sun rises from it, the sun sets in it. It provides great beauty and joy and enjoyment. You can swim and surf and boogie board and sail and float in it, whatever you want to
Right.
do,
Right.
fish in it. Um, but I'm sure you'll connect on this level. As much as you absolutely love the ocean, you have a deep respect for it, meaning
Absolutely.
you know its limits, you know about rip currents. Sometimes people just go right in and whatever. You have such an admiration for everything ocean that you actually respect the ocean. And it's got this sort of, I look at it like there's a relationship. I respect it, it will respect me, and we're good.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
it's really important to make sure you do that. But just even going to see the waves and just being a part of it, I find it's really very grounding.
Mhm.
It's it's a place to be, to get away from all the chaos of the noise of life. And people ask, do you like the mountains? Do you like the desert? Do you like the ocean? I love all of it. But I would say first, and again, it's because of the exposure to it,
Yeah.
growing up near it on the coast, the ocean is a powerful and incredible thing, right?
Yeah, it's powerful, it's incredible, it's grounding, it's meditative, and you're like you're saying, it's also dangerous. I always tell my kids when they were little, "Don't turn your back on the ocean. You wanna
It's in
share the
charge.
experience, don't get consumed by it," right?
Right. Yeah.
There's all sorts of, elements to the ocean that you must respect, and the whole family, we're all scuba divers, and there's something really pretty poignant about being down in the element with the other creatures. When you're snorkeling on top, or when you're swimming, or when you're in a boat, they're they're sort of an entity that exists outside of where you are. And when you're in the water, they don't really care that you're there. And so they'll swim by you and they'll swim close to you, and you become integrated into this world in a way that's really pretty powerful. And I think every one of my kids has experienced that, being underwater with a scuba tank and just living with the creatures as opposed to observing them from afar is really pretty satisfying. It's pretty rewarding.
What do you find riskier, being down below in the ocean with the creatures there, or when you're tackling those 5-lane highways in LA?
Definitely 5-lane highways in LA are far scarier. Yes, 5, 6. Yeah.
You also, as much as we're talking about your brilliant career as an actor, you're also an instructor. You're somebody who likes to pay it forward, who likes to mentor others. And you have served as a theater director, screenwriter, and producer, and part owner of a bi-coastal film development company named Jones Films Entertainment, developing several feature films and television projects as well, including Agora Hills and Malibu Gothic and more. Tell us about that whole other hat that you wear: director, screenwriter, producer, and having this company too.
It's interesting because I think initially it came out of necessity. It was, the acting wasn't enough. And so what do you do to help support that career? But it has since turned into something far beyond that, especially the teaching. It's satisfying, it's gratifying, it's incredibly rewarding. And I had no idea the community that I would build when I started this some 14, 15 years ago. And that's pretty gratifying. There's something about the acting community that's really pretty special. so special that we refer to the rest of the world as civilians. And so there's something about the experience of sitting in a room with an actor and watching them kind of go from decent to good to great, to go from a solid choice to an interesting choice to a compelling choice to a brilliant choice, and being able to articulate that and talk about it and have a dialogue about it has just been one of the most satisfying parts of my life's journey. And I really enjoy having the studio and being able to meet new actors and being able to work with them and being able to help them find their footing and craft their career. It's pretty exceptional. And as far as the producing and writing has really developed into something beyond what I expected as well. I never knew that I was a writer. I still sometimes don't consider myself a writer. I write in a way where I'll write a 40-page, what I call a novelette, just to get all the ideas out so I can clearly articulate it and then try to craft the script from there. And I have found the structure to be the hardest part for me. The dialogue comes pretty naturally and pretty organically. I found, though, that sort of forcing my script into a structure after I've written it is much easier for me than outlining every single detail and then trying to be creative inside of that. For me, it's just about a creative outlet and then trying to find a way to delicately place it into the perfect story. This has to happen on page 3. This has to happen on page 15. The second act has to unfold like this. The third act has to have a nice twist. All of those elements I don't necessarily put in the right place, but you can find people to help you do that.
Absolutely right. It takes a village to put it all together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. Of course, Days of Our Lives too. Kip.
Yeah.
People are gonna be like, "Hey, Jim, you didn't mention Kip." Days of Our Lives, an amazing over where they just celebrated a few months back, 60 years.
Crazy.
60 years.
Amazing. Good for them, though. That's no small feat.
Wow. That's incredible, right? When you think about it, it's extraordinary. Really, really is. And they're one of the few that remain, Bold and Beautiful and Young and the Restless and General Hospital and Days of Our Lives. God bless all of them who are still out there kicking it and doing it as well. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing when you think about all the work and all the amazing things you've done. As I mentioned, Star Wars, Rebel Assault, and Top Gun, Fire at Will.
That was fun too.
Is there a role out there, either something you would want to create yourself, or if it was presented to you, it's a role that is out there looming, and a role or a project that you would love to be a part of that hasn't happened yet? Because you've had such a scope of incredibleness. Is there anything out there that you still, if this came along, I would love to tackle that?
Yeah, well, the thriller that we're working on is a role that I wrote for myself. And as long as we do it in the next 10 years, I'll be able to play it. Otherwise, I'm going to have to cast somebody younger and put myself in the other role. But that's all right. I got another role that I can put myself in. But it's really...
You could be the dad or the grandfather.
Exactly. But it's really a beautiful piece. It's about loss. It's about grief. It's about like I said, a small town sheriff, but he's grieving over the loss of his son. And I think that is a really powerful and poignant story. And so many of us go through loss as parents, and God forbid we were ever to lose a child. We haven't, and we're so blessed to have the kids that we have. But as you watch a child go from 3 to 5 to 10 to 12 to 22, you do lose them. And so I think that even though this is a very specific story about a man who's actually lost his child has died, there is something that's pretty universal about it. The fact that we as parents lose our children to adulthood. And that is something that we just don't talk about, because we go, oh, well, they're still there. And you go, well, yes, they are, but they're different. They're not these little kids. They are their own people. They are their own entity. They're no longer attached to you in that way. And so I think people will kind of identify with his grief, even if they haven't experienced a catastrophic loss like that. So I'm really excited to bring that one to the world as well.
Can't wait. It's going to be amazing. You've got a lot of blessing in your life, and nothing comes easy. You've had to work hard to get to the level that you're at, a critically acclaimed, respected, revered, actor, and so much more, who pays it forward, who understands what it's all about, and has a good time doing it. What are some of the other blessings and joys in your life, Jamison, that keep you doing what you do and do so well?
Well, I mean, it's hard to just not talk about my kids for an hour, but I'm just so blessed to have these three amazing children, and to have those amazing children also go out into the world and find partners that are as amazing as them and bring them into our, stratosphere is pretty exceptional as well. So we've been very fortunate with not just the kids, but also their partners. And, I would be remiss in saying if my wife wasn't my life. She's everything. She's not just my partner in life, but also my partner in business. And not that she's a part of any of this, but every time there's a decision to be made, I go to her and I say, what am I going to do? She's also an extraordinary human being who's an executive at a, very high profile company as well. So she's got some experience with making business decisions. So she's been very helpful in that part of the career, as well as making the right choices. Are you doing this as an actor? Are you doing this as an artist? Are you doing this to move forward? Are you doing this because you just want to do it? And so having that kind of partnership is extraordinary.
What would you say to that kid growing up in Michigan, who has a dream and who's curious and wide-eyed and watches the movies, watches television, and one day he's going to be in there and on there and the stages as well? What would you say to that 10-year-old?
I guess I would say hang in there, because it's not going to be the dream you thought it was going to be. It's going to be much harder.
What did you think it was going to be?
I just thought I would be a movie star.
Just that's it.
Yeah. And I don't say that like that's easy.
No,
because I don't think it is. And we've watched a lot of people self-destruct in the pressures of that. But I did kind of think that's what it would be. And I didn't think it was going to be a grind like this. And it is. It's been a grind, but it's been very rewarding. And some of the things that I probably wouldn't have made a choice to do have been the best things in my life. I don't know that I would have had kids if my wife wasn't like, we're going to have kids. Okay. But then you look back and you go, wow, this is the best part of my life. These kids are the best part of my life. How could I ever go back in time and, consider not doing that? So that's pretty extraordinary to have someone in your life too, who's helping make those decisions in a sense for you, to say, I know this is good for you. And I know that you will benefit from this decision.
So in that area, she was the director.
Yeah, absolutely. She's the director in every area.
She's the director.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is there a book in the offing? Have you thought of writing?
I have a book in me. It's a book on acting, and it's a book about acting, and it's a book about actors, and it's a book about finding your way through this very difficult, complex industry and career. And I've started it 100 times, and I've got chapters written, and I just really need to sit down and do it, and it's finding the time to actually sit down and explore it in a way that's meaningful. And, I get inspired, and then I get, complacent, and then I get inspired, and then I move on to something else, or some other project comes up. But I really do need to be better about finding the time to do those kinds of things that are not only rewarding, but I think could really be beneficial to other people.
What would you say to somebody watching who's followed Jamison Jones on all these different TV shows and in the movies and stage and what have you, and they admire the characters, they admire you, your work ethic, and they want to step foot into this world. We've had a couple of people who've been guests on the show who said things like, well, if 50% of you wants to become an actor in this world, but the other 50% is thinking about being an accountant, be the accountant, because what it takes to be the actor, and like you say, the ups, the downs, the dry spells, the overwhelm, the running around, the grind, the crazy hours, the weekends, the holidays, the nights, the locations. Not everybody is interested in just doing that or desirous, and that's not the part of it they want to do. The movie star, yes, like you say, but all the stuff that it takes to maintain that is a whole other world. What would you say to somebody who's seeing Jamison here on our show and saying, my God, that's the guy that's on this show and this show and this show. How do I get to do that?
Yeah, I think what you're saying makes sense, right? If 100% of you doesn't want to be the actor, if 100% of you doesn't want to do the work, then it's probably not the best choice for you, and you might not succeed in it. But I think you got to love every part of it. That's the key. You got to love doing the work, and you got to love doing the auditions, and you got to love doing the text work, and you got to love learning your lines, and you got to love doing the rehearsals, and you got to, yeah, of course, everybody loves going to the premiere and walking on the red carpet and working with these incredibly famous and talented and brilliant actors and directors. But I think you got to love more than that. You got to love yourself in the work and find joy in that, and satisfaction and gratification and all of that. Some actors that I work with are just really tormented, and they struggle with every part of it. And you begin to wonder where they will find joy in it. And I think you got to find joy in every part of it, even the criticism, even the part where somebody's telling you need to do something different, or giving you a new direction, or suggesting you try this instead of that. That's still got to be part of what you love.
That's great advice. That's advice you can take to the bank for sure. This was a tremendous conversation. Some cool things coming up for you, my friend, and I'm very excited about it. And the film that you just mentioned that you're working on, keep us posted. We would love to tell our viewers, because we have an international audience, we'd love to tell them where it's going to be and when it's available to watch.
Sure. Yeah.
Sounds like such a real labor of love for you, and we're very excited. I encourage folks to make sure you go to the website, go to JamisonJones.com to learn more about not only his incredible career and things he's done already, but things he's working on, things he's proud of, and other cool projects along the way. And you'll remember a lot when you take a look at the website. This was awesome. We have conversations.
Yeah, thank you
here.
so much for having me on the show. I'm really excited. I got another beautiful movie coming up that we start shooting next week called Small Talk with
wow,
Keegan Allen and Austin North, and a film that I shot in Vermont a year and a half ago called Leatherclad. So there's still so much that's coming, and so many irons in the fire that I'm excited to be here and talk about it. So thanks for the opportunity.
The pleasure is all ours. I always tell all of our fantastic guests that I like to keep the porch light on for them. So you are definitely welcome back, my friend, to come stop by, even if you just want to say a quick hi, whatever the case may be, and spread the word about our show. We'll spread the word about your projects as well. And truly, Jamison, this was a delight, and I hope you enjoyed the time with me as much as I have with you.
I did. Thanks for the opportunity to talk about what's going on and to kind of delve deep into some of these topics. It's really been rewarding. Thank you.
Appreciate that. And we do conversations here, not necessarily interviews per se. And,
Right.
And here's one thing that I'll share with you, that my father imparted some wisdom when I was 7 years old. I'm the fifth James, so it goes all the way, long line of Jameses. And he said he grew up in New York. He grew up about 2 blocks away from Tony Bennett in Astoria. Wow. And so he knew Tony growing up, and, great. It was an Irish-Italian neighborhood, he being on the Irish part of it. And when I was 7, Dad said, now, of course, when you're all born James, but then I've used Jim, when I grew up. But as a kid, Jimmy.
Right, sure.
Jimmy, always remember when somebody says something kind or nice to you, take the time to thank them. Make sure you take the time to thank them for those kind words. Then ask them to please put those words in writing and address it management. 7 years old, he tells me that.
That's good.
How true is that, huh?
Yeah, please do.
How true is that? On this show, that would circle back right here. Jamison, you're the best. A real fun time with you. Congratulations on everything. Continued blessings to you and the family. Come join us again, and we'll look for you here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah, I try to be everywhere I can be. So thank you for the opportunity to talk about some of that stuff.
Pleasure is mine. We'll see you again soon, my friend, okay?
Okay, thank you. Take care.
You take care now.
Bye-bye.
Jamison Jones joining us here on the Jim Masters Show. How cool was that? Folks, if you want to learn more about some of these projects and you want to check out some of the things he's done in the past, I mean, we could have done a whole mini-series on his career and all the great shows and so much more. We just scratched the surface, as I always say, on his career, but bringing up some memories probably for you of some of the things, General Hospital, of course, and The Young and the Restless, Days of Our Lives for all the daytime fans, but some of the other projects too that he's been a part of too. And Criminal Minds Evolution season 19. How cool is that? Look for him there, right? Playing Tom, that incredible character. He also shared some great stories about the characters and about the epic productions he's been a part of, everything from The Wretch to the Fun Times with Will and Grace, and when he got the funny line, but then that had to be tamped down a little bit because it was so funny. And of course, you guys remember the role, William, PV, General Hospital, and so much more. Really a great guy, great conversationalist. He's very passionate about what he does. He loves the family. He loves the ocean. And he likes entertaining all of us. You can go to his website, jamisonjones.com, to learn more. Also, you can find me and the show on all the socials, Jim Masters TV on Facebook, Instagram, and on X, formerly Twitter, at Jim Masters TV. Check out everything there. And if you enjoyed this episode, give the episode a thumbs up, comment, drop a comment below. We love hearing from our audience, our viewers, and interacting. What is a memory that you have of Jamison, a role that you enjoyed him being in and starring in, and being a project that he was a part of as well, currently in now? Are you excited about some of the material that he's talking about coming up? Whatever the case may be, interact with us. We love hearing from all of you. It's really a blessing and a pleasure. And again, don't forget to give this a like, and don't forget also to subscribe to the YouTube channel, where there are hundreds and hundreds of past episodes with some of your favorite guests, celebrity guests and friends, where we have the deep dive, heartfelt conversations here on the Jim Masters Show. So again, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know that you enjoy what we're doing here at the Jim Masters Show, and come see us again. We're going to keep the porch light on for you. Another great episode comes up in just a moment, so stick around. Go back in the archives and check out some of the past episodes too. Some great guests we've had over the years, from your childhood all the way up to today. Really a blessing doing this series for you. Be well, everybody. Don't forget to love one another. Take care of one another. And as I always say, try to do the same for yourself. And come see us again. We'll keep the light on for you as well. Be well. Thanks for being with us on the Jim Masters Show. Look forward to seeing you again soon. Cheers.